Awesome. We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Jaime Chapman, and today we are talking about military spouse careers and a new place that you can go to apply for a position if you are a military spouse. I have with me today Lindsay Alano. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We just did this a second ago. Lindsay Alano, that's how you say her name. And she works for a company called Patriot Enterprises. And Patriot Enterprises does recruit military spouses.
Yes.
So Lindsay, let's talk a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about your background. Then we'll talk about Patriot Enterprises and what you guys do for military spouses.
Sure. Yeah. I actually am also a military spouse. My husband is in the Air Force. And so I think all of us who have been military spouses know that having that career can sometimes be difficult, especially what you're passionate about, right? You don't just want to have like any job. So when I became a military spouse, that was always my concern and my worry. But when we PCSed to Maryland, I was looking, at different companies, and I came across Patriot Enterprises. And to be completely honest, I had no idea who they were, what they did. But all I saw is that they worked with the Army National Guard, was one of their contracts. And they were hiring for like a trainer program support specialist. So I applied and I received that job. And I've been working with that company for about 2.5 years. I'm in a completely different role now. They recruited me to the recruiting team. So it's been fun to be on this end and to meet so many people, because as a recruiter, you're constantly talking to people. But being in the military spouse world, I found that I have a lot of passion for helping military spouses, not just with my company, but my friends who are military spouses looking for jobs, helping them with their resume, because we are so valuable, or can be so valuable to a company.
It's awesome. And I always find there's this trend in what I do. I do consult and help companies learn how to hire, retain, and promote military spouses. Mm-hmm. And what I find is there's usually either a veteran that's a mad raving fan of military spouses, or a military spouse that's the wizard behind the curtain, somebody much like yourself that champions the cause. Absolutely. And you want to bring more spouses onto your team because you understand the value they bring. Yep. I always seem to find this, and I love it whenever I find a little gem and a company that may not be on the radar of the military spouse talent community, and suddenly they get a Lindsay on board, and then now there's a ton of military spouses working for them.
Yes, we're all about it. We're all about it.
So let's talk about Patriot Enterprises, what the company does, why it's a great place for spouse to work, and just get to know the company a little bit.
Yeah, Patriot Enterprises is a government solutions firm. So we hold a lot of government contracts. We kind of go to like the social services contracts. We have like licensed clinical social workers working with the Army. We work with SHARP, Sexual Harassment and Response Program. So while our headquarters is in Virginia, we have positions throughout the United States and overseas. And I'll talk about one of the jobs that we have as a hot job that's overseas right now. But I think one of the beneficial things about our company, since we're all over the U.S., we really try to work with a military spouse if they're, going to be PCSing somewhere, to see if there is a position available. We have one of our contracts is with like the ID card operators, so people who create your CAT cards and military cards. We hold that contract. And so they're all over. So if a spouse is, PCSing from Arkansas to Virginia, we'll see, hey, is there a position open that you can already fill because of your expertise and the knowledge you have from being at that previous position.
That's amazing. Most military spouses who have a physical face-to-face type of job feel that there's not the ability to transfer to another location at a later time, and feel that they do have to quit and restart the job search elsewhere, which is so nice that you have such a widespread presence on these military installations.
Yeah.
That way there is the possibility if somebody comes on board with Patriot Enterprises, that spouse can maybe transition and work at another post. That's awesome.
Yep.
Post. I'm an Army gal. Installation. So let's talk about what type. You said Sharp. You said ID cards. What other types of functions do you have on the military installations that might be somewhere a spouse could look for work?
Yeah, so I mean, all of our any job you're applying to, because our headquarters is in Virginia, you would go to like our website, Patriot Enterprises LLC.com, because oftentimes like we don't necessarily have like headquarters all over the United States. It's more like we are on base for this certain contract. So a lot of our recruiting ends up in this area, but we're recruiting for like different positions. So not only we work with Sharp, we work with counselors. We have like pay clerk. So anyone that's, working with finances in the military. So we work alongside them. So those are kind of like our hot jobs that we constantly are kind of recruiting for. But it's a gamut of types of positions. So while we're in social services, technically, we have program analysts that we need to understand certain things, program manager positions, data analysts. So we have a wide variety. So it's not just like, one little sector.
Awesome. So let's talk about these hot jobs you keep teasing us about. You have positions overseas, which is amazing. Military spouses overseas. From my experience living in Germany, the spouses in my building, there were 9 families. I think only about 3 of them were working. So if that's a micro picture of a big unemployment problem, let's talk about those overseas positions and maybe how the spouse can apply for them.
Yeah. So the ID card operator one, which I was sharing earlier, that's the one where like we are kind of most present, like abundance throughout like the United States and overseas in Europe. So those positions, again, all can be found on our website. Another hot job is actually in South Korea. So Camp Humphreys. So if you happen to be going there, we are seeking either a licensed clinical social worker to work with the CID agents there. So it's a very dynamic job, as you can imagine, working with the agents and, sifting through their thought process and what they see. So it's I think what's exciting about that, it's like a career job.
Awesome.
Too, right?
And so if you can, off the top of your head, because I know we're doing a live and it's easy to look stuff up, for those licensed clinical social worker, that position in South Korea, what about the license? Is it something they can just be licensed in their home state where they have their license already, or do they have to get something special?
Yep. No, if they're licensed at any state, if you're licensed at Texas, Colorado, Florida, because on an installation. And so we've had some people who've actually, there was one lady that I recruited for, she was in Georgia, and we had a position open in Virginia. And so she was able to, without transferring her license, she was still able to work on base.
That's music to my ears.
We were talking about that earlier.
Portability is such a huge issue. And I have heard from many social workers about how difficult it is, especially when you're keeping up with your continuing education hours and stuff like that.
Yep.
Awesome. I'm so happy. So some really lucky licensed clinical social worker in Camp Humphreys, South Korea, is about to apply for a position and get it over there. I'm excited.
I hope so. DM me right into on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to help you.
DM Lindsay. And I will be dropping, if you are watching this later and not right now, I will drop the link to their website in the comments, and I will also drop I'll tag her name in the comments as well, so you can DM her. Thank you for telling us about that position. Let's see. If I am a military spouse and I want to apply to your company for one of these open positions, do you have any tips or tricks or advice that might make me a little bit more competitive of an applicant?
Yeah, definitely keywords, right? Because if there's a certain job, let's say we're looking for a data analyst, we're looking for Excel spreadsheets, pivot tables, all those things, because sometimes we get an array of resumes, lots of resumes coming in. So those keywords are very important. I think also for me, I'm a very personable person. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. But if you reach out to me like on LinkedIn, I always respond to my DMs. So if like you are actively looking and you see a position, reach out to me. Like I love talking, I love connecting it. And my biggest thing too, beyond Patriot Enterprises, I want to make sure that I'm helping you too as a candidate. So if there isn't a right place in our company, I really try to find, ways to help that person, or definitely keep their information, forefront. So if there is a position that opens that they qualify for, that I can call them back and kind of let them know and tap them on the shoulder. So it's never kind of a waste to contact, to build that network and build that connection, because you just never know what positions will come available. And again, like I said, while I work for Patriot Enterprises, I'm also super passionate about helping any military spouse that comes my way.
Military spouses, I think, will let applications in their relationships with recruiters fall off the map.
Mm-hmm.
Rejection is really tough. And sometimes we're just, so I think it's important. One of the things to me in the recruitment world that makes an applicant stand out to me is communication. If they're reaching out to me, if they're proactive, their name is first of all on my radar, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm remembering it because I keep seeing their name over and over again. And the way my brain works is I associate them with their skills and what they do. Mm-hmm. And then the next time something comes up, I think of them for the next position, right? And it sounds much the same with you. And I'm a huge military spouse fan. And anytime I can try to help a spouse get a position, even if it's not something I'm working on and I just hear about something else, I try to send them over. It's worth helping them establish a career for that. So
absolutely.
Let's see. Any other questions I want to ask you okay, I'm stumbling here. Let's talk about thinking about closing out our conversation here. Is there any final, tips, tricks, or advice, or anything in general that you would want to say if you could speak directly to a military spouse?
Oh gosh, I think it's just never give up on your dreams. I know it sounds so cliche and so cheesy, but it is a tough road for us. But I think resilience is something that we definitely have from moving from base to base. You never know what the military is going to tell your spouse to do, and then you're stuck stranded or something. We're resilient, we're strong, and we have a lot to offer a workplace. And there are workplaces out there that understand and value military spouses. It may take some time to find them, but I can say for Patriot Enterprises' sake, they're great. They're wonderful. I mean, we also have lots of veterans that work with us as well. They've just been very accommodating. And like I said, been there for 2.5 years. I'm all about a culture of a company and, how they treat their employees. And I have nothing bad to say about Patriot Enterprises. They have been fabulous with the situations that I've been in as a military spouse. But just keep striving. It's possible. You can get frustrating, but definitely reach out to resources to help you. I am here if you need help having just me look over a resume, even if you're not applying to a job at Patriot Enterprises. I see resumes all day long, so I can definitely help you all with that.
Patriot Enterprises for the win. If you're watching this and you know a licensed clinical social worker headed over to Camp Humphreys or sitting at Camp Humphreys in South Korea looking for work, tell them about this and share the video with them, and then encourage them to apply. And I will be fielding any comments that come in a little bit later. So if you're watching this and we are no longer live, I will try my best to absolutely answer your questions. And then I will ping Lindsay for the ones that I can't. Mm-hmm. And feel free to share this out if you know of anybody that could just generally be looking for one of those positions she mentioned that may be of interest to them. And Lindsay, again, thank you for your time. We will be ending our chat here. And thank you, everyone that is tuning in and watching. I appreciate your viewership and your support for military spouses.
Thanks so much, Jamie.